Yep, good to go.
All right, guys. So I'm doing everything right, but not losing weight. This is probably the most common thing I hear, and 99% of the time, it comes down to one of a handful of very fixable things. So today, we're going to go through them together. I want you to listen with an open mind because some of this might feel uncomfortable, as you might feel like I'm talking directly to you or calling you out. That is not the case, guys. These are the most common things that occur in all my years of coaching when people say, can't lose weight. So everything I'm sharing is meant to help you get unstuck if you are unstuck. So before we start, how many of you have ever said this exact phrase to yourself at some point in your life? You don't have to say it out loud. Just give me just raise your hand on screen. And also, if I can't see you on screen, turn your camera on. Don't be shy. All right. If you haven't said it, I'm sure you will at some point in your life. Or you're just lying. No, give me 1 second. Add a bunch more people. Okay, so we're gonna move through 7 checkpoints today. So for each one, I want you to honestly ask yourself, is this me? By the end, most of you may have identified your sticking point if you are stuck. Okay, these aren't random. They're ordered by how commonly they show up. The first two catch most people, but we're going to cover all of them because the frustrating thing about fat loss is that sometimes it's a combination of factors working against you at the same time. And before we start, none of these are about willpower or being a bad person or a bad client. That doesn't exist. Okay, they're about information gaps, things your body is doing that you may not even be aware of. And once you know what to look for, you can actually fix it. So pause or ask yourself again, just internally, which of these do you already feel like might be your issue? Okay, there's 7 of them on here. Just kind of think, oh, yep, number 2 might be me, number 6 might be me, whatever. All right, so let's go to the first one. Are you actually in a deficit? This is the hardest one to hear for most people. And like when I ask people this question, they kind of get offended, but it's just generally this is mainly the issue. And I want to say this very carefully. This is not about honesty or effort. Research consistently shows that people underestimate their calorie intake by anywhere from 20 to 40%. 20 to 40%. That's not a character flaw. That's how the human brain works. So we remember the chicken and rice. We remember the ground beef and potatoes. We don't remember the handful of almonds we had while we were cooking, the splash of olive oil, or the 2 bites of someone else's dessert, the creamer in our coffee, etc. Healthy foods are the main culprit here, believe it or not always junk food. People expect junk food to be high calorie. We all fucking know that. They don't expect their salad dressing to be 200 calories. They don't expect the creamer in their coffee to be 100 to 200 calories. These are the foods that quietly blow up a deficit. So here's a concrete example. One drizzle of olive oil. What most people pour without even thinking is actually 2 to 3 tablespoons. That's anywhere from 240 to 360 calories. That's enough to completely erase a day's worth of deficit before you're even finished cooking. In restaurant food, even grilled salmon and veggies at a restaurant can be 700 plus calories because of butter, oil, and portion sizes. The same meal made at home might be 350 to 400 calories. These are the silent offenders in otherwise healthy meals, and they're almost impossible to account for without being there in the kitchen yourself. So even if you go to Qdoba or Chipotle or Moe's, whatever, right, and you get chicken and rice, that's not going to be the same as cooking chicken and rice at home because, again, that chicken is probably loaded with oils and butter. So what should be 200 calories might be 3, 4, 500. And you think it's healthy because it's chicken and rice. Not always the case. So here's your action item for this. Just audit the gaps in your tracking. So every oil you cook with, every condiment, every bite you take, every drink beyond water, every restaurant meal where you estimated. Anything that goes in your fucking mouth needs to be tracked in your food log. Okay, the goal isn't to judge the log. It's to find where the log and reality are drifting apart. And for most people, that's where the answer lives as to why they're not losing weight. Number 2, how long have you actually been consistent? Like, how consistent are you really? So when I ask clients how consistent they've been, most say really good, like an 8 out of 10, and I believe them. But when we dig into what actually looks like day by day, or what that actually looks like day by day, we usually find that their definition of consistent means consistent during the week. The weekend is a whole different story. So here's the math. If you're in a 500 calorie deficit Monday through Friday, you've saved up 2,500 calories over the week, right? We're minus 2,500. That's almost 3/4 of a pound of fat loss right there, right? Because 3,500 calories equals 1 pound. But then Saturday comes around, you go out to dinner, have a couple drinks, share some appetizers. That one meal alone could easily be 1,500 to 2,000 calories. And then you got Sunday, there's brunch after church with the family. Now, in total, between those two meals alone, you've added back 2,000 plus calories over 2 days. So we had a 2,500 calorie deficit Monday through Friday and a 2,000 calorie surplus on Saturday and Sunday. Your net deficit for the entire week, only 500, right? Because minus 2,500 plus 2,000 equals minus 500. Sometimes, and a lot of times, it's actually a surplus, which is why we don't lose weight or we even gain weight. There's a psychological thing that happens here, and we anchor on our best moments. You remember Wednesday when you meal prepped and hit all your macros perfectly? You don't weigh that the same as Saturday night, but your body doesn't give a fuck about only Wednesday. It's counting all 7 days equally. So think of it this way. Your best days aren't what determine your results. Your worst days do. Anyone can eat perfectly when life's easy, meal prep's done, and nothing went wrong that week. That's not the hard part. The hard part is what happens when life gets busy. You're stressed, you're tired, or you're traveling. What does that day look like? Because your progress over time is just an average of all your days, the great ones and the rough ones. And the rough ones pull that average down more than the great ones pull it up. So here's what I want you to do this week. Every day, just mark yes or no on a piece of paper or in your phone or whatever. Did you hit your calorie and macro targets today set by your coach? Obviously, us coaches can see it and EverFit, but I'll write it down and hold yourself accountable. Sometimes just seeing it written down really opens your eyes. Don't judge it. Don't overthink it. Just track it. Do that for 2 weeks. The pattern will tell you everything. Most people who say they're 80% consistent realize through this exercise, they're really closer to 60%. And remember, if your macros are 200, let's say 200 carbs, 200 protein, 50 grams of fat, we're expecting you to be within 1 to 3% of those macros. If you're at 250 carbs, 75 fat, no. Okay, you're delaying your progress. That might not be spot on. So the goal of this action item right here is just to visually say, did I hit my macros today? If that was 200, 250, yep, I did, or nope, I didn't. And most time, a lot of people that are stuck, they're going to see a lot more no's and be like, fuck, I really need to get this dialed in. And obviously, you have us coaches to help you with this. All right. Checkpoint 3. Is the scale lying to you? All right. So this one's my favorite. Because for some of you, this is the entire problem. You are losing fat. The scale just isn't showing you yet. So let me explain why. The scale doesn't measure just fat. The scale measures your total body weight, which includes fat, yes, but also muscle, water, the food currently in your digestive system, glycogen stored in your muscles, and inflammation. Fat is only one of those variables, and it's usually the slowest moving one. Everything else can shift 2, 3, 4. Fuck, I've seen people fluctuate 7 pounds overnight in a single day just based on things that have nothing to do with fat loss. So, sodium, this is a big one. Did you eat out last night? Did you have a salty meal? You could wake up 3 to 4 pounds heavier today, and not a single gram of that is fat. It's just water your body is holding on to dilute the sodium. It'll come off in 24 to 48 hours without you doing anything differently, right? How many of you, right? Typically, you guys have your cheat meal on Saturday, Sunday, and 90% of clients across the board, Monday is typically your guys' heaviest weigh-in. And then as you can see throughout the week, the weight starts coming off, okay? So that's completely normal, and that's normally because you guys might have your cheat meal on the weekends. So for anyone with a menstrual cycle, I don't think I saw any women in here. Let's see. Nope. Oh, my wife. Okay. So even then, so if you want to explain to your wife, okay, in the 2 weeks before their period, your body can retain 3 to 7 pounds of water. This is going to completely mask fat loss. They'll diet hard for 2 weeks. They see the scale barely move, and then suddenly just drop 4 pounds in a week. They didn't just lose 4 pounds that week. They lost it over the prior 2 weeks. You just couldn't see it because the water was sitting on top of it. Let's say you started a new training program. If you just started a new program or increased your intensity, you're actually lifting to true failure. You're doing a 2 to 3 second eccentric, etc. Your muscles are going to be inflamed from the repair process, and they hold on to water as part of that repair. The scale can actually go up when you start training harder. That's not fat gain. That's just your muscles adapting, which is exactly what you want. Stress. This is a fucking big one for a lot of us. Cortisol, your stress hormone, causes water retention on its own. So if you're going through a stressful period at work or in your personal life, or you slept like shit, the scale may not move even if your diet and training are perfect. And that's why sleep's so important, which I'm going to get into that later. Carbohydrates. Let's say you had a higher carb day. One sec, sorry. Pasta, rice, extra fruit. Your muscles store that energy as glycogen. And for every gram of glycogen stored, your body holds on about 3-4 grams of water alongside it. A higher carb day can add 1 to 2 pounds on the scale. That is completely temporary, and it's going to come back down within a day or two. This is exactly why we have you guys do daily weigh-ins and we track the weekly average. How many times you guys heard me say weekly average? It's the only thing that fucking matters. That's it. Okay. It's not to torture you with making yourself get on the scale every morning, put it in EverFit. No, it's because that average is the only version of the scale that actually tells us the truth. The daily number is just fucking noise. In the grand scheme of things, I don't care if you're 5 pounds heavier, 5 pounds, it doesn't matter. We need it to get that weekly average, but it's just noise. The weekly average is the signal. And this is also why we do weekly photos and measurements alongside it, because your body can be visually changing, your measurements can be dropping, and the scale can still be sitting in the same spot. All three data points together give you the real picture. If you're ever frustrated with the scale, go look at your photos from 4 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, a year ago. That's usually where the answer is. Okay, the scale is just a tool. All right, number 4, how's your sleep and stress? Most people think fat loss is about food and exercise. And yes, those definitely matter. But here's the thing. If your sleep is wrecked and your stress is through the fucking roof, you're fighting your own biology every single day. And you're going to lose that fight eventually, no matter how dialed in your nutrition is. Here's what happens in the body. Stress. Any kind of stress, work stress, relationship stress, financial stress, the stress of dieting itself, the stress of hard training. All of it feeds into the same cortisol response. Your body doesn't know the difference between being chased by a fucking lion and having a brutal week at work. It's going to release cortisol either way. And cortisol does 3 things that directly sabotage fat loss. It's going to signal your body to hold on to fat, especially around your midsection. It's going to cause water retention. It's going to drive up ghrelin, your hunger hormone, while driving down leptin, which is the hormone that signals fullness. So you're hungrier, less satisfied when you eat, and your body's clinging to fat for survival, all because of stress. Sleep makes this worse or better depending on how much you're getting. Even one night of poor sleep meaningfully increases ghrelin and decreases leptin. You wake up hungrier than you normally be. You feel less full when you eat, and your cravings specifically shift towards high calorie, high sugar shit foods. That's not a willpower problem. That's biology. Your brain is running low on energy and it's screaming for the fastest fucking fuel source it can find. And here's something people don't connect. Without adequate sleep, your body can't properly repair muscle tissue after training. So your body composition suffers even when the scale is moving. You might be losing weight, but you're losing muscle along with fat, which is the last thing we want. So the minimum sleep for most people is 6 hours. For body composition specifically, 7 to 8 hours is where you really see the difference. Below 6 hours consistently, and you're working against yourself no matter what else you do. So before you ever drop calories lower, before you ever add more cardio, audit your sleep first. If you're averaging under 6 hours a night, that is very likely a major contributing factor to your plateau, and it costs you absolutely nothing to fix. So for the next week, I just want data. What time are you going to bed? What time are you waking up? Rate how you feel in the morning on a scale of 1 to 10. That's it. Let's see what the baseline looks like before we change anything else. Okay? And if you're fucking scrolling TikTok till midnight, or you're in bed and you're just, whatever it is, get off the phone. Leave the phone downstairs if you got to. That's going to be the culprit for most people. Right? So something I've been doing is I leave my phone downstairs. I have an alarm clock that's just the fucking alarm clock. So that way when I go in my room, I know it's time to sleep. Okay, there's no distractions because I value sleep that fucking much. All right. Checkpoint 5. How much are you moving outside the gym? So this is NEAT, the hidden variable. So this is something most people in fitness completely overlook. And once you understand it, you'll never look at your daily movement the same way again. So it's called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's a fancy name for all the movement you do that isn't structured exercise. So NEAT includes things like walking, fidgeting, standing, doing chores, taking the chairs, pacing when you're on the phone, gesturing when you talk. What I'm doing right now, this is NEAT. For sedentary people, someone who sits at a desk all day, their NEAT might be 200 to 300 calories a day. For active on their feet people, it can be 1,000 calories or more per day. That's a massive fucking difference. And here's the part that blows people's minds. For most people, NEAT actually contributes more to their daily calorie burn than their gym sessions do. So yeah, you're going to burn more calories outside the gym than actually going in there. And when you start dieting, what happens? Your body is tired. It's running on less fuel than it's used to. And without you making any conscious decision, your NEAT starts to drop automatically. You sit down a little more, you stop pacing around, you take the elevator instead of the stairs because the stairs are fucking feeling extra, not feeling too good, right? Every step you take, you just feel it in your quads or whatever, right? You're going to fidget less, you put less energy into household tasks. None of this feels like a decision you're making in the moment, but it could be costing you 300 to 500 calories a day compared to when you were eating at maintenance or in a surplus. That's a significant chunk of your deficit disappearing without you even noticing. And there's actually research showing that when people start structured exercise programs, many of them unconsciously reduce their NEAT enough to partially offset the calories burned in the gym. So you're working out hard for an hour, and then you're sitting more the other 23 hours. Your net calorie burn barely increases. You feel like you're doing more, right? Because you're hitting the gym all the time, but the total numbers aren't moving the way you expect because you're not doing shit outside the gym. The easiest way to manage NEAT is step count. It's not a perfect measurement, but it's the most practical tool we have. Getting 8,000, 10,000 steps a day ensures a baseline level of daily movement that keeps your metabolism doing what it should. Steps are also something you can control intentionally, right? Park further away, walk during phone calls, take the long route, stand while you work. One of my favorite practical hacks is a 10-minute walk after every meal. It helps your blood sugar response after eating. It adds anywhere from 800 to 1,500 steps a day, and it costs you literally almost nothing in time or energy. If you did nothing else from today's entire call, just add a 10-minute walk after dinner every night for the next 2 weeks and see what happens. 6, are your expectations calibrated? So we've gone through 5 real fixable things that could be causing your plateau. But I want to end here before we get to the bonus concepts, because even if you fix all 5 of those things, progress is can still feel slow sometimes. And if you don't know what normal actually looks like, you'll convince yourself it isn't working and quit right before it pays off. Diet culture, transformation photos, reality TV, weight loss shows, 30-day shred program. I fucking hate that one. All of it has conditioned us to expect fat loss to be fast and dramatic. It's not the case. So when someone's losing 3/4 of a pound a week, they feel like a failure. They feel like something's wrong. But let me show you what that actually adds up to. At 1 pound per week, which is on the higher end of healthy, sustainable fat loss. Maybe 2 pounds for some people, depending on where you're at. But generally, again, what I always preach, I said about half a pound, 2 pounds, or half to 1%. Okay. So again, going back to a pound a week, that's 12 pounds in 3 months, 24 pounds in 6 months, and close to 50 pounds over the course of a year. Can you see that in before and after photos? Absolutely. Is it life-changing? Absolutely. Does it feel significant week to week? No, sometimes barely at all. That's the reality of sustainable fat loss, guys, and that's okay. So here's why slow loss is actually the smarter option, not just the boring one. Rapid weight loss, the 2 to 4 pounds per week that people expect, almost always involves significant muscle loss alongside the fat. And losing muscle is devastating for your long-term metabolism. It's why people who crash diet end up smaller, softer, and why their weight comes back so easily whenever they stop. Slow, steady fat loss with a training program that builds or preserves muscle is how you actually change your body composition for good. And here's the thing that kills me about this. Most people quit right around that 6-week mark. And that's almost exactly when the body starts showing noticeable visual changes. The first few weeks are when all the behind the scenes adaptation is actually happening. Hormones are adjusting, your water weight is stabilizing, your metabolism is recalibrating. The visual results come after that. So the people who quit at week 6, they never get to see the payoff for all the work they already put in. So I want you to do 2 things. First, write down what success looks like at 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months using the realistic numbers we just talked about. Not what you wish would happen, what's actually achievable. Second, identify 2 or 3 non-scale markers you'll track alongside your weight. So, energy levels, how your clothes fit, strength in the gym, sleep quality. These things often improve before the scale moves significantly. And they're real meaningful progress, even when the number isn't doing what you want. Lastly, I want to add one more concept that ties everything together. And this might be the most important thing I say today. It's called body recomposition. And it's the reason I want you guys to stop treating the scale like it's the judge of your progress. Body recomposition is when you lose fat and build muscle at the same time. And here's what makes it tricky. When both of those things are happening simultaneously, the scale barely fucking moves, if at all. Because fat loss and muscle gain are offsetting each other on the scale, and because the scale can only see the total, like we talked about at the beginning, right? It reports zero change, even though your body is completely transforming underneath. So think about this example on the screen. If you lose 3 pounds of fat and you gain 3 pounds of muscle over 8 weeks, which is a very realistic outcome with a solid program and good nutrition, the scale says you made zero progress. But your body's completely different. You look leaner. Maybe abs are even popping through. Your clothes fit differently. Your metabolism is actually in a better place than when you started because remember, muscle burns more calories at rest than fat does. That's not a failure. That is literally the best possible outcome. And the scale is completely fucking blind to it. So here's something most people don't know. Muscle is significantly denser than fat. It takes up less physical space in the body. So two people can weigh the exact same number on the scale and look completely different from each other depending on their body composition. The person with more muscle is obviously going to look leaner, tighter, more defined, even at the same weight. The number on the scale does not tell you which one you are. So let me say this clearly. This scale is just a tool. That's all it is. It measures gravity's relationship with your total body mass. It tells you nothing about how you look, how you feel, how you perform, or what the body is actually composed of. I use scale weight as one data point in a larger picture, not the final verdict on whether something's working. So here's what I want you guys tracking alongside the scale, right? Weekly progress photos. Same lighting, same pose, same time of day every month. How your clothes fit, specifically a pair of pants or shirt that used to be tight, your strength benchmarks in the gym. Are you lifting more than you were 8 weeks ago? And your daily energy levels. Do you feel better than you did when you started? Those 4 things will tell you the real story of what's happening in your body far more accurately than any number on a scale ever will. At the end of the day, guys, the goal should not be to be a certain weight. The goal is to look the way you want to look, feel the way you want to feel, and perform the way you want to perform. If you're moving towards those things, who gives a fuck what the scale says? The scale is just a tool. The scale is just a tool. The scale is just a tool. Engrave that shit into your brain for the rest of your life. Don't let it be the boss. So, before we open it up, here's your homework from today. You don't have to do everything at once. Pick the 1 or 2 that feel most relevant to you right now. Start there. Build the habit, then add the next one. Work with your coach if you need help. That's what we are here for. Okay. So we got food audit. Track everything that goes in your mouth. It goes in MyFitnessPal. So that way we can see it. Rate your consistency honestly. Define what a true 10 looks like. Most self-rated 8s are typically 5 to 6. Weekly average weight, right? Again, make sure you guys are getting your weigh-ins every single day and ever fit. Not only does this help us, give us coaches the most data, but it helps keep you accountable. Sleep audit. Track your sleep hours in your morning energy, 1 to 10, daily, before you change anything else. Don't even touch your cardio. Don't even touch your fucking macros. Shouldn't be doing it anyways. That's why you have us coaches, right? But get your sleep fixed before you touch any of that. Set a daily steps goal, 8 to 10,000. Really should be, if you can hit 10,000 plus, you're going to be in a really good spot. Hit it consistently. Once you can hit that daily number consistently, add a few more steps. Go to 10.5, go to 11, go to 11.5, okay? Again, that could be as simple as adding a 10, 15-minute walk after every meal. Get up 30 minutes earlier, etc. There's all kinds of ways of getting extra steps in. Right? Realistic time-bound goals. So set 3, 6, 12 months targets, and then also add 2 or 3 non-scale markers. So again, energy, strength in the gym, sleep quality, how your clothes are fitting, energy, etc. And then expand what you track. So got photos, how your clothing fit, are we hitting PRs in the gym? Again, remember, right here, guys, the scale is just a tool. All right. So the goal today, it's not to overwhelm you. It's just to give you a diagnostic framework when progress stalls, and it will at some point for everyone. No one's fucking perfect. Instead of panicking and doing something drastic like slashing your calories, doubling your cardio, or changing the entire program, come back to this checklist, work through it systematically. The answer is always somewhere in these 7 points. And remember, the recomposition piece, the scale is one tool, it's not the verdict. How you look, how you feel, how you perform, these are the real metrics of progress. And if those are moving in the right direction, you are winning, regardless of what any number on a scale says. All right. So that's all I got.